This episode of the 46 of 46 podcast is sponsored by Pure Outdoors. Camp comfortably with the world's best insulated tents and outdoors gear. Check out their tents, sleeping bags, pads, and more at cruaoutdoors.com. That's CRUA outdoors.com. Crua Outdoors, the best night's sleep you'll have in the wild. It's 20 degrees out here, and day one of the Northville-Placid Trail is officially underway. We're coming up to the Aluska Lean-To, walking along the cold river, and it is raging today. We're here at the Noah John Rondo Hermitage, 2 miles out from Catlin Bay at Long Lake, climbing up towards the scenic viewpoint, and it is steep. We're walking between the Seward and Santanoni ranges right now. Well, it is a winter wonderland back here at Duck Hole. Crossing the suspension bridge over the Sacandaga River, it's a quiet, peaceful evening here at Spruce Lake number 3. Well, we woke up covered in 2 inches of snow here at the Kelly Point Lean-To. Passing the Cedar River flow, sunny day at Stevens Pond. We're building our campfire early here at Silver Lake to fight off the bugs. Wow. Dude, I have no idea how we're going to cross this swamp. Just walking down the road here in Piseco. Well, I guess it's time to take off the boots and cross the West Stony Creek. 1 mile to Lake Placid, 1 mile left to Northville. You're listening to the 46 of 46 podcast, the Northville-Placid Trail edition. The Northville-Placid Trail, Day 4, Wakely Dam to Lake Durant. April 26, 2020. We're back on the Northville-Placid Trail hiking another section of this infamous 138-mile trail stretching from Northville up to Lake Placid. Today was going to be a lot different than our last hike, however. It was simply a day hike. No camping. Therefore, much lighter backpacks and way less gear. With this being a through hike, it of course required 2 cars, one at the start and one at the end, to drive us back to the start to pick up our other car. So Josh and I had to coordinate that, but ultimately, as far as a single day section hike on the NPT goes, this wasn't too difficult, fortunately. We planned to start hiking at the Moose River Recreation Area near Wakely Dam, and then hike northbound to the Lake Durant campground in Blue Mountain Lake, where we began our first section hike. The sun was shining, the snow was melted, for today anyways, and we were back for another section on the NPT. Time to hit the trail. Our plan for this day hike was to continue northbound from Wakely Dam in the Moose River Recreation Area, past Wakely Pond, up to Stevens Pond Lean-To, and finish at the Lake Durant campground where we'd come out at the Route 30 parking lot, the same place we started our first section hike just 10 days ago. A trip that would total around 13 miles of this 138-mile trail. A nice, light day hike here in the Blue Ridge Wilderness on the Northville-Placid Trail. Well, it's 4 a.m. I am headed to Blue Mountain Lake. Josh is driving right behind me. We are going to Section 2 of our Northville-Placid Trail hike today. 2 cars, a day hike. It's going to be about 14 miles according to the map. We're going to be hiking from the Moose River Recreation Area up to the Lake Durant campground where we started the last hike. So we have 2 cars, a little bit of coordinating involved, and a lot of driving for this one section. But Section 2, no camping today, 14 miles, Northville-Placid Trail. Josh and I both left our houses in Lake Placid at 4 a.m. and started the long drive back to Blue Mountain Lake and the Lake Durant campground, where we planned to leave my vehicle at the same parking lot where we were dropped off to start our previous section hike. Then I would hop in his car and we would drive to the Moose River Recreation parking area. It was about an 80-minute drive through the Adirondack Park this morning, west on Route 3 to Saranac Lake and Tupper Lake, onto Route 30 through Long Lake and Indian Lake, where we eventually came to the Route 30 NPT crossing and parking lot on the road just before the campground entrance. I parked my van, grabbed all my gear, and threw it in Josh's car, and we continued down Route 30 a few miles to Route 12, also known as Cedar River Road. This road drives deep into the woods, eventually becoming a dirt road which is only serviced from April 1st to December 1st. so keep that in mind. We drove slowly down the dirt road towards our destination, and there's an incredible view of Sugarloaf Mountain in front of you during this drive. Sugarloaf has some amazing cliffs on them and is a very jagged-looking mountain. You'll notice it. You don't see mountains shaped like this in the ADK too often, and I heard that it's a hot spot for rock climbing. After 4 or 5 miles on the dirt road, we saw Wakely Pond, the blue NPT trail markers, and we soon came to our parking lot. We found the trail. Time to hike. We parked Josh's vehicle and gathered our gear. No cell phone service out here as imagined, so I sent a text with my Garmin InReach Explorer GPS to let the loved ones know that we're starting our hike at 6:05 a.m., and we walked back down the dirt road before making a left into the woods to move towards Lake Durant just after Wakely Pond. Our day on the trail was officially underway. 6:05, and we are going to walk northbound today to the Lake Durant campground parking where we started the first section. So we're continuing our hiking here on the NPT. We had to coordinate 2 cars, Josh and I. Kind of a pain, but that's what we had to do. And we are 11.1 miles away from my vehicle. And here we go. Pound it. Let's go. Going into the woods. The weather was expected to be clear with temperatures in the upper 50s, so it was going to be a great day for a hike. Hopefully dry with no snow. Once turning off the dirt road and into the woods, the trail hikes along old logging roads for a while on a nice, wide, leaf-covered trail in open woods. The majority of this whole section hikes through very open hardwoods, actually. Some short sections of the trail move through mini spruce groves and then back onto a logging road with open woods around, but that's the story for the most part. So after we took the left turn into the woods, the trail right now is very wide. Clearly trucks and machines drive on this road here, / the trail. But so far this day is starting off without snow, which is our first time so far on this trail that we're going to start without snow. And it looks like it's going to be a nice day. Weather's supposed to be in the mid-50s and sunny. So I have a good feeling that today on the Northville toilet paper trail will be. And there is the sound of the loons. It really took us by surprise. These first few miles after Wakely Pond felt a lot like the approach to Allen Mountain, for those of you familiar with that remote high peak. It has that sort of feel. The entire section hike today has very few landmarks on the map to look forward to. So during this 13-mile stretch, we'll hit a trail junction, a footbridge, a lean-to, and a trail junction. So not a whole lot of places to get stoked for as you're hiking along. With that in mind, the joy of the day would really be the woods around, and fortunately the woods and the weather made that possible today, since the conditions were truly perfect. Sun shining, warm spring temperatures, dry, and very little snow patches throughout the forest. Exactly what you'd want in the spring. So we're walking through a narrower trail now. Nice spruce trees on both sides, brushing against our elbows, but super cool. Like you're surrounded by Christmas trees. The forest so far, pretty open right now, so far on the day. Very pleasant and not much snow in the woods. For the majority of it, it's all melted, which is glorious. Come on, spring. The trail is well marked and easy to follow here with an abundance of relatively new trail markers as you hike along these logging roads between Metcalf Mountain on the left and Sugarloaf to the east on your right, if you're going northbound, of course. Various points on this stretch, the trail will leave the logging road and go up into the woods simply as a reroute of the trail to avoid the very wet, muddy, stagnant water covering the old logging road. So the trail continues along the logging road and then eventually it takes us into the woods along the road, which is kind of like a swamp at this point, but now we're walking in the trees on the leaves away from that wet logging road in the woods. Lots of trail markers, fortunately, so pretty easy to follow.
But yeah, the road below is kind of a mess. So it's nice that we're in the woods at this point, walking along the road.
This was quite nice because the woods were very dry and with lots of trail markers was easy to navigate, despite the trail being covered in leaves from years past. And speaking of the trail being covered, one of the big stories of the day for Josh and I was how often we were tripping on broken branches all over the trail. I have never experienced this amount of broken branches everywhere on the trail. It's not blowdown, though of course the trail has plenty of that as expected, but the trail just had small to medium-sized broken tree limbs every 5 feet it felt like. And they're usually covered in leaves, so as you walk and you take your step, you kind of get snagged on the branch, and then the branch gets stuck between your legs, ultimately either tripping you or worse, whipping your other leg with the branch. Oh, and it stings so bad. It makes you so angry. And since it's still a little cold out, that sting hurts slightly worse. But man, does it sting. That wood, those branches.
So we're now back down on the logging road. The trail up in the woods is definitely just a reroute along some swampiness. But I have never tripped more in my hiking life than I am right now today on this trail, from broken limbs and little branches on the trail. It's like every 2 steps I am freaking tripping and whipping myself with the tree as it gets caught between your legs, and you just kind of whip yourself with it. Terrible. I don't know why, but that's what's happening.
This, however, was certainly the trend for the whole day for both Josh and I. And we've never seen so many dead branches all over a trail for the entire day. And I'm not exaggerating either. I know you think I might be, but I am not exaggerating. So throughout the day, we'd be constantly flinging the branches off the trail with our trekking poles. Well, when we saw them before tripping over them, or after we tripped over them, of course, in pure frustration. So today we were actually half hikers, half volunteer NPT trail crew, you could say, cleaning off the trail for this season's hikers. We continued moving north, walking on the eastern slope of Metcalf Mountain, and then occasionally navigating along a small ridge, then back down into the coal. I'm in a coal! The woods were mostly dry, thankfully, and there were very few stretches with snow. Some, but they were always only 10 or 15 feet or so, and then it would be dry. Going northbound here, the trail for the most part loses elevation throughout the day. It varies, of course, and there's still plenty of slight climbs, but for the most part, you're losing more than you're gaining in this direction.
So we're about 2.5 miles in from when we started. The trail is running along the slope here, going up to our left. We're definitely, threading the needle between some mountains on our right and our left. Very nice trail, very pleasant, well-defined, easy to follow, tons of trail markers, but still so many branches on the friggin' trail that I keep tripping on and whipping my legs with. But nice views in the distance too as the sun is coming up. You can see those nice yellows behind the blues of the mountains in the distance through the trees. So overall, very nice vibes right now. I'm a very big fan of this stretch of trail so far. So we're a couple miles north of Wakely Pond at this point.
We continue north towards Round Top Mountain, which is often seen through the trees in the distance. And despite only being a 2,800-foot peak, it looks a lot bigger than that from the trail. We were making good time hiking at a very comfortable pace, averaging just over 2 miles an hour, which for the most part is what my average was on the entire trail. So pretty much every day was averaging just over 2 miles an hour.
The trail remains nice and dry, covered in leaves, as we make our way towards Round Top Mountain, which is directly in front of us. And it is quite literally a round top. So the surveyors, I don't think they exhausted many of their creative juices when naming that mountain. But yeah, it's directly in front of us. The sun is coming up behind it, so it's looks pretty nice right now.
Not much in terms of river or drainage crossings here. A few like always, but no sketchy crossings like we ran into a lot on our last